Hello people, this second installment in my watch collection. Skinny Junior here, that is, and as usual with my cameraman, Mr. Turtle.
Hi.
Right there. Hello, Mr. Turtle. Just wanted to talk a little bit more in depth about the Mark II watches that I have. I have two of them. The first one I bought was called the Mark II Kingston. These watches, and the other one I bought some 6 months later is called the Mark II Nassau. Both of these watches have exactly the same case. They came with exactly the same bracelets, different dials of course. Start with the Kingston. The Kingston was a watch that was produced by Mark II, the owner of Mark II, Bill Yeo, and he basically asked a forum at Watch You Seek what they would like to have in this particular style of watch, knowing that it was going to be the James Bond 007 watch from Dr. No, the famous 6538 watch. And from there everybody put in their 2 cents worth in, and he figured out what different combinations of that particular watch he could produce, but he kept the case size at 39.2 millimeter, I think, whereas the Rolex Submariner that Sean Connery wore was a 36 mil watch. I mean, it's a 1950s watch, so they were all pretty small then. We're all wearing clocks basically on our wrists these days. Anyway, look, here is the Mark II Kingston. I chose the gilt dial, as it's called, which has gold around the hands, gold around the markers, and gold minute markers around the chapter ring, and the second hand as well. It looks like that. I don't know if I can sort of catch it in the poor lighting that we have here, but on a nice sunny day when you have it outside and it catches a little bit of the sunlight, it really just pops out. That dial just pops out. And it's a glossy dial behind that. The other thing I can tell you is that I chose to have the Bond bezel, which doesn't have the minute markings from 1 to 10. Just has basically 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60, and just the silver triangle with the little pip in there. The lume on both of these watches that I have is actually called a BGW9, so it's not quite a vintage lume. I could have chosen a vintage type lume. The lume I chose was this BGW9 because I like the way it looked. It's got a sort of a blue-green look about it in the night time, in a dark place when it's charged. But it is very white, and I think a lot of purists probably prefer to have that creamy white vintage type lume that a lot of the vintage Rolex watches now have, from the 60s, 50s. That's that one. It's on they both came on the bracelet, as I mentioned in the first video. It's a Rolex Oyster style bracelet, riveted bracelet, but a little nicer than the old 1950s bracelets, which were made of folded metal, pretty flimsy stuff. These are actually great. They're a nightmare to size because the screws are they're screwed. And the screws are the size of the rivets, so they're pretty small. You need 2 screwdrivers, one either side, and you need to unwind them. But painstakingly done. It can be done, and it's worthwhile too. I'll just show you as well, because I love this bracelet, because the other oyster style bracelets that I have, once I've sized them, I've noticed that the clasp sits on one side of my wrist, so I've had to cut away one of the non-removable links to make the clasp sort of sit like this, right in the middle of the wrist. Didn't have to cut anything away with the Mark II riveted bracelet. It's a great bracelet. Some people have said that it's a little thin. I find it very comfortable to wear. Just a little bit of an update as well. I had a quick look online for the Mark II 007 serial number of 300, and that watch can be actually tracked down to a YouTuber, someone who has a YouTube channel called The Watch Hobbyist, and he actually won that watch in a charity raffle. So he has 007 of 300, and it's quite controversially. I think he also had a Black Bay as well, and he was wondering whether to keep the Black Bay or whether to keep the Kingston. Chose the Kingston wisely, because you can buy a Black Bay any time you like, but you can't get a hold of 007 Kingston. Anyway, that's the Kingston. Moving along to the Nassau, as I mentioned in the previous video. The Nassau was a watch that Bill Yeo produced after the Kingston, and he same case size. I chose the same. I think there was only one type of loom available, and that was BGW9. I don't think there was much choice, but I did choose to have the red triangle with the pip insert there, and the bezel does have the minute markings from 1 to 15, as you can see. This watch also is quite collectible in that he only produced about 35 watches with a larger size crown, which he put on the Kingstons, and because the regular production of the Nassau featured a 7mm crown, slightly smaller than this one, but when he went to put the crowns on, he found that there were some problems with them, with the stems, and so he reordered some 7mm crowns for his production, but also put on the first 35 watches the 8mm leftover crowns from the Kingston project. So I have watch number 11 of 35s. I guess it's kind of collectible. That's about all I'm going to say. Just the other features of it are that they both have a 20mm lug width, which means, you know, chucking on a NATO is a great idea. I've been doing that a little bit this summer. I've been really enjoying the comfort factor of the NATO, and actually I found a YouTube video from a fellow called Archie Luxury. I think he lives up in Queensland. They're a bit of a watch enthusiast, and he has a different way of putting on the NATO, which I absolutely love. Instead of having the strap going through the second loop, I just put it straight under there, put the watch on like that, and put it on that way. That means that there's actually no bulk on this side of the watch. It feels more comfortable to me. All the bulk is just underneath, as it would be clasped with a bracelet. Love that. That was a revelation when I saw that video. Thanks, Archie Luxury. Really enjoyed watching that. So there you have it, the two Mark II watches. I think he's producing a GMT, a Pan Am type watch at the moment, and a couple of other military style watches. So that's a website worth having a look at. It's an excellent watchmaker. That's about anything you would like to add there, Mr. Turtle? Mr. Turtle's stolen my Oris classic date.
It's not focusing on the watch, but
seems to like that watch. One day he might inherit it. Yeah, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you're enjoying your lives, and we'll see you again soon. Cheerio.
Also, if anyone in the comment section knows what this is, that's a good thing, because not many people know what it is. Anyway, yeah.
Good one. Thanks, Mr. Turtle. See you all. Bye-bye.